Good morning. Hey, Karissa, thanks for joining me. And ladies in our Business Leaders of Style, Wit, and Substance, thank you for joining me. I'm just going to pop over to our Facebook group and refresh our discussion and make sure all of our technology working. Yes, it totally is. Karissa, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing really good. I'm on holidays this week, so you couldn't have picked a better day for us to chat.
That's fantastic. Well, I am so excited for you to take the time to share a bit of your story with all of the lovely ladies that are in our private Facebook group. We've got over 600 members now, and I can't wait for them to learn more about your story. A little bit of a pre-frame before we get going. I know the women in our group, Karissa, they love hearing stories of other women that are in our group, women that I've had the honor to work with, like yourself, because I think it's really by sharing our stories that we get inspired, we find support, and we find strategies to sometimes overcome obstacles that maybe we keep bumping our heads up against. So I'm so excited to share a little bit of our work together and for you to share your story with our community. So thank you again for taking your time to be here. Okay, ladies, for some of you that are new, if you've never joined our live interviews, I want you to know that you can type your comments or questions in as Karissa and I are sharing today, and we will respond to those as we're going. You'll also get an opportunity to share or post questions to ask those to Karissa before we sign off today. We've got 28 minutes to serve up an epic slice of awesomeness. So let's get going. So I'm going to introduce you, Karissa, and then we're going to take it from there. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Awesome. Okay, ladies, it is my pleasure to introduce Karissa Schlaht to you. Karissa is located in southern Alberta, and she is, actually, I'm going to make sure I don't mess this up. I'm going to get my language right. She is the relationship manager for TD Agricultural Services in her district. I know you've been in banking for, I think, just over 10 years. Is that right?
Yeah, going on 11 years already.
Exactly. All right. So you know the lay of the land, and I know from our conversations that your organization has really identified you as an emerging leader, a rising star. But it's not just banking. You've got a lot of other things on your plate. Why don't you tell us what else is going on in your life?
Yeah, so on top of being very passionate about my career and in love with the agriculture industry as a whole, as you know, I grew up on a farm in a very small community called Lomond, and it really taught me the importance of the sense of community and teamwork and hard work. So I'm passionate about banking and about business, but I'm also passionate about the agriculture industry as a whole. I think the most recent statistic was, in order to feed the world in the year 2050, we have to grow 60% more food on the same amount of land. So it's a pretty powerful thing, to feed the world, and to feel like I have any small part of it is so meaningful to me. So I love my career, and I am also a mom to two very energetic little boys. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old at home, so trying to, feel competent and deal with the guilt that I feel day to day and manage both of those worlds, as well as my husband is a manager of a restaurant in Lethbridge, and so he works a lot of evenings and weekends. So I try to find time to sort of fill up my tank with community involvement and hanging out with my friends and family in between those gaps.
Yeah, you are packing it in. That's what I know. And that's what I love about your story, Karissa, because I think a lot of our viewers and community members can resonate. By and large, we are well-educated and naturally intelligent women, and we are ambitious, right? We know we have a lot of potential and we want to make a big impact. But often the people who want to make the biggest impact also have the most crowded calendar. So I appreciate that you really are representative of a lot of the women in our community. Hey, Jen says, hello. I'm actually going to, as we're talking, I'm going to show some of our comments. Hey, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
Awesome. So ladies, just like Jen, you can post your comments and questions as we are going. So let's get into really, there's a couple of themes that have come out of our work together. I know you've been very generous in allowing me to share with our community that we have worked together very recently. We just completed a 4-month coaching partnership. And the focus of our coaching was really around leadership development and helping you to develop your own signature brand of leadership, identifying what that is and fully stepping into that. So I'd love for you to share now really where you came to, how that conversation started, even with your own organization, and what some of the options were as they were supporting you to develop your leadership capability.
Yeah, so I had kind of progressed to a bit of an awkward position in my career where I had moved to one of the most senior roles in the Lethbridge community, but I'd never actually had any direct reports or direct people management experience. And so I was feeling kind of vulnerable, recognizing that the next stage of my career would be likely into a district manager or unit leader role. And I was really, I guess, called to be the best possible leader that I could be, to leave a positive impact on the lives of others. And so I didn't want to go into a role like that ill-equipped. And so as a part of my professional development discussion that I was having with my boss, he suggested I guess the next stage would be to look at doing my MBA. And while that was very flattering, I had like a slight panic attack at the thought of that, because with having the two little boys at home and barely feeling like I could keep up with what I was doing as it is, as well as having a husband that works an opposite schedule, it just didn't seem feasible. And so as a second suggestion, he thought maybe I could take a leadership class at the university, or perhaps go to chapters and at least pick up some leadership books. And so I did that, but I didn't feel particularly inspired by that. And I don't think I've shared this with you, Heather, but I was actually watching one of your Facebook Live Friday videos, and I had like an aha moment. And actually the topic that you were discussing was around up-leveling your circle of friends, or up-leveling the people in your life. And for some reason it angered me. And so I had to sit back and really, I guess, assess, where is that anger coming from? Why am I feeling that way? And I realized because it was true for me, and I was ready to up-level myself. It wasn't true about, up-leveling my friends. I have fantastic friends and family, but for me, it was true in that I was ready to step up to that next level and take on that next leadership role. And so I thought, well, I work in a male-dominated industry with very traditional thinking people. Not sure how they're going to feel about the thought of coaching, but I was like, I need Heather in my life. I need her to push me. And so I proposed it to my boss, and much to my surprise, he was very supportive. And in the end, the bank ended up not only compensating me for your coaching services, but they were also actively involved in the process and kind of helped me, put up my hand for the opportunities that were coming my way along our journey together.
Yeah, that is, I think that's one of my favorite pieces of your story. Not because I was involved, but because there's two things. I don't want any of our viewers to step over this. Number one, that you recognized that it was time to up level, it was time to go to the next level, and that you needed support. But it was the fact that you were able to self-advocate, right? Because I know so many women in your position would have been, very flattered that their organization is, inspiring and supporting them to develop. But if they didn't fit the formula of, that lockstep of how the organization has promoted or developed people, that they would say, well, I guess I'm out, right? I can't take courses, or I can't start my MBA because of other, personal obligations. And they'd say, I'm out. But you didn't. You found a way, you raised your hand and asked for what you knew would fit and would support you. And I think that is such a skill and such a strength that I want to honor and really want to highlight here in our conversation, because a lot of women would take themselves out of the game at that point. So that is really cool. The second thing, what was the second thing? The second thing that I wanted to highlight is just how generous and supportive people around us, whether it's an employer or whether it's, friends and family or our spouse, how supportive the world can be when we truly have the courage to ask for what we need. I love that. Love it. Very cool. Okay, so then I think what I would like if you're willing to share a little bit, is, and I'm just going to post some comments here. I know Jen, awesome. The bank, how the bank has supported you. Nicole is here as well. Awesome, ladies. Thanks for posting your comments as we're going along. Next question I have for you, Karissa, is if you would be so generous, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about your own leadership development or evolution over the last 4 months?
Yeah, we kind of started our journey honing in on sort of what my limiting beliefs and fears were. And so we spent a lot of time at the beginning. For me personally, it's the fear of people pleasing and the fear of judgment. I think growing up in a small community, I received the message that what the community thinks of me matters, to the point that it matters more what I think of myself. So we did a lot of work on, I guess, changing that belief system. And this might sound kind of woo-woo, but every day when I got to work, I would park in my in the parking lot, and I would walk into the office, and I would visualize myself as like a strong, feminine, empowered leader. And I would say the mantra to myself, I don't need anyone's acceptance or approval. I am strong, I am confident, I am enough. And I did that, and then some shifts started to happen. As well as, if I can show you, one of the most powerful exercises that we did together was this picture here. So at the beginning of our journey, this is me here in the circle, and this is this elusive leadership trait that I'm trying to acquire. And what I ended up discovering throughout this process, I'm gonna just quickly re-sketch this, is that this has been me, and this is leadership inside the circle. Leadership has been something that's been within me all along. And for some reason, I was waiting for someone to slap me with like a VP title or, say you're a leader, in order to let myself, I guess, give myself permission to unleash all of the leadership traits that were already inside of me.
Yeah. Ooh, Kate, that is an epic slice of awesomeness. And thank you so much for being generous, like sharing some of the models that we work together to, unleash the leadership that has always been within you. I love that awareness that you raise around, not waiting or sitting on the sidelines, waiting for somebody else to deem you worthy, right? But what the shift that really, I think, unleashed a lot of your evolution and progress in a very short span of time, right? We've only worked together for 4 months, and the evolution that you have really demonstrated has been, really quite humbling. It tells me how ready you were to take the next level. But recognizing that leadership isn't something that we have to wait for, that we need some external credential or an MBA, or, as you raised that hesitancy that, well, I haven't been a boss yet, so how can I be a leader? Is so powerful to actually recognize that you already are. So thank you very much for sharing that. And I think thank you for sharing, you say, it might be a little bit woo-woo, and I'd love to know, viewers, if you think affirmations or doing a mental mindset practice is woo-woo, because I think oftentimes we get really nervous as women that, these are our private success habits, but they are becoming more and more widespread. So I'd love to know, ladies, if that resonates with you, if any of you have a similar mindset practice to get your game face on when you're going to work today. Hey, Brenda, I see that you're here. Awesome. Okay, continuing on, because I know you have so much to share, Karissa. I'd like to know what, in addition to, those mental shifts and the fears, overcoming the people-pleasing and the judging patterns, anything else that you want to share that's shifted for you in the last 4 months?
Yeah, so I think with that shift, it enabled me to find my voice in the office. So I was able to step up and give myself credit for a lot of the leadership and coaching that I was already doing, both with my clients and with other members on my team, and even within the community, within different groups that I'm a part of. And as a result of all of this, my manager, I guess, put his hand up for me to become the legendary customer experience champion for Western Canada. So I actually, had the opportunity a couple weeks ago to do a live webinar to all of the business bank on, I guess, how we can improve our customer service and why customer service is so important for us. I've also been, I guess, able to enter a pilot program with TD called Everyday Investing in You. So they've been really supportive in furthering my development and continuing to develop that leadership muscle that you and I have started to flex. So there's been a lot of positive outcomes already in just a short 4 months that we've been working together.
Yeah. Okay. So let me get this straight, because that is a lot to wrap our lips around. So you've been identified as already a leader and are delivering webinars for other colleagues and professionals across your business district. You're being called in as an advisor in a pilot program to develop more leadership training in your organization. And I know, don't forget this, I know from our work together that you have also been invited within a local firm to make a presentation about how your organization can support the accounting world. So you're being seen as a leader not only internally by your own colleagues and boss and mentor, but other industry professionals and people outside of your district. It's in some ways mind-blowing, the ride that you have been on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think the shifts for me, are pretty powerful, both personally and professionally. And I'm so looking forward to the next sort of phase of my career now. I feel so much more confident and well-equipped to make that leap. I think there was a statistic that you and I have discussed in the past also about a man will apply for a job when he feels that he meets 60% of the criteria, where a woman will wait until she reaches at least 90%. And so this has really stretched my thinking in putting my hand up and taking that leap, maybe when I'm 70% sure that, I meet the criteria. And certainly this has given me a big boost and a big bump of confidence.
Right. Okay. So what are the things, I know, when I complete coaching with any client, one of the things I'm really most interested in making sure that the work that we do sticks, right? Yeah. That I work myself out of a job and you no longer need yourself. So for your own development, what are some of the things or habits that you now have created that are going to make this shift and this leadership, stepping into this leadership role, stick for you, Karissa?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of not losing sight of the big picture. I literally don't have a day, when I'm at my job where I don't think about what I'm really there to do, who I'm really there to serve, but also honing in on the daily habits. So little things like when we started working together, I was checking my email far too frequently. And so it's been a good challenge for me to check it less often, just in terms of, I guess, really making my time a priority and not jumping at every single customer request as it pops up. Something else that I'm going to kind of use to check in, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is a leadership competencies wheel that Heather and I developed on, I guess, 8 traits that I feel, constitute a successful leader and effective leader. So it kind of is a scale of 0 to 10 where I rate myself in each of the sectors. So it's kind of a working document that I'm going to do, once a quarter or something to check in and make sure that I'm still flexing those behaviors and practicing those behaviors and applying them in my real day-to-day life.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. I love the fact, I love it when I see a client, and you and I have created these tools together through our conversation. So it's really been a tailored approach, which is something that you were really seeking when we started to work together. You knew that you didn't have time or room in your calendar for a one-size-fits-all leadership program or a, out-of-the-box MBA. And those are all fantastic development opportunities, which I'm not dismissing. But the ability to really dive in individually, look at your individual fears, the old patterns and beliefs that were preventing you from really stepping up and being the leader that you have the capacity to be, creating these tools and now you owning them and using them on your own is an amazing evolution. And one that I know we've talked about is one that you'll be able to apply and share with other people as you lead others in your organization. That's so cool. So cool. Okay. So I'd love to know, based on your evolution, what you know now about yourself that maybe was just a glimmer or a hint before. I would love to know for our viewers, what what are some of the tips or advice that you would give ladies who maybe, like you, have been identified as a rising star within an organization, or maybe have recently accepted a leadership role and are emerging in that capacity? What advice, or I guess, do you have 3 success tips that you'd love to share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, you have to know, you have to feel ready, but you can't be afraid to put your hand up. And you have to define success for yourself. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. And I found personally in my life that until I was really confident in who I was, and I really knew who I was and embraced it, including my flaws, that I felt like a success on the inside is when the success on the sort of outside really blossomed. And conversely, even though I had maybe achieved some outward success before I was really centered in who I was, I never really felt it for myself. So I think really knowing who you are and owning that is a big piece of it. Something else that I think has been important for me in my life and has been a reason that I've found the success that I have is because I've, I guess, identified the fact that it takes good people around you to succeed. So my message would be to go where you're loved. You know, I'm sure you've heard the term, people don't quit jobs, people quit people. And that's been very true for me. Before joining TD, while I was quite good at my job, I didn't feel fully fulfilled. I didn't feel like I could really shine. I didn't feel like the environment was really supportive. And so I just kind of made the decision that, you know, life is too short. The world needs you to be at your best. So go where you are loved. And lastly, I read Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, when we worked together previously before I joined TD. And the message, be where your feet are, has really stuck with me. The importance of being present. I spent so much time and wasted so much time in my life self-editing and thinking about what I said and how I could have done it better, while simultaneously worrying about the future, having anxiety about the future, and wasn't really fully in the moment. And so the shift that I made to be present, to really enjoy every single life's moment, has made my life much more meaningful and has made my success that much more impactful.
Wow. Okay. So I want to recap because that was some golden nuggets right there. So it was accept who you are, both the strengths and sometimes the challenges, and really embrace that that's who you fully are. Number one.
Yes.
Number 2, be, I think that's number 3, be where you are, be fully present. And number 2 was
go where you're loved.
Go where you're loved. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, have the courage to make adjustments, whether it's in your business or your career, to go where you are truly loved.
Yeah.
Awesome. You know, it's interesting you say that because there's a similar idea that I've often heard floated around in entrepreneurial circles, which is, you know, whether it's, and in entrepreneurial circles, it's about, you know, identifying an ideal client. And it's not necessarily, success doesn't come and going where you are necessarily needed, but where you are truly wanted.
Yes.
That's a very similar, it's a very mirrored idea, whether it's an ideal client or whether it's an organization that you're working with.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, this has been a power-packed 23 minutes. So ladies, I would love for the many of you that are here watching our live interview and have the opportunity to pose your questions to Karissa, please do that now. We have another 5-7 minutes max where we can really have a live discussion about leadership evolution. If there's any questions you have about Karissa's journey over the last 4 months and even, on a broader perspective, please pose those now while you have the opportunity. I know Karissa is incredibly generous and very transparent. And I think that's one of the things I love most about you, Karissa, is not only are you, obviously, you've got some incredible financial acumen skills to support your clients, but you also remain incredibly humble. And I think that speaks to the fact that you were raised in a farming community where it was all about giving back, supporting others, and not, I think not wearing such a big ego. And I think that is maybe one of the superpowers that makes you so successful, because when we have the courage to show that vulnerability, to show our humanness, we attract people in a way where that ego charisma couldn't. Right? There's a magnetic quality to it, and you definitely have it. Okay, I'm going to get to the questions. Brandy says, Can you share with us any specific examples of how you might flex your leadership in a male-dominated industry? Wow.
Ooh, good question.
Great question, Brandy. Okay. How would you respond to that, Karissa?
Yeah, so I think I said the comment before about finding your voice. And for me, that's been the biggest thing. I think I was afraid of stepping on someone's toes or of being perceived as this witchy woman, for lack of a better word. I really wanted to find my own feminine style of asserting myself in a way that was true to me, that wasn't going to deflate others or put down others, but that would, I guess, ultimately allow me to share something that, might elevate all of our service levels to the next level. So some of the examples over the past 4 months have been within my direct team, with my analyst in particular. There were scenarios where I didn't feel like our clients could be serviced because we had so much going on and there was too much for just myself and my analyst to handle. And so I put my hand up with the credit management team and said, look, we're going to have our customer service level impacted here. Is there anybody else that might be willing to support us? And their initial response was, no, everyone's busy. Keep plugging along. You guys can handle it. And for a day, I thought, okay, we'll just hunker down and do our best and try to meet some of the deadlines and pass off some of the others. And then I decided, you know what, that's not acceptable to me. So I went back to the coach and said, look, I said I was busy. Here is exactly how busy I am. And I specified out the priorities, the deadlines, and he responded immediately with, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you guys were that busy. How can I support you? Is there somebody else on the team that I can pass off some work to? So it's been, I guess, not accepting the first response and really honoring my gut instinct and standing up for what I think is right or best to serve our clients and better for our organization.
Awesome. Okay, I'm furiously typing, trying to summarize these golden nuggets because that is awesome. So I think that's a great response to Brandy's question, in that it's about really stepping back, taking the emotion out of a situation and making a direct request. And you touched on this, Karissa. There's a line between not being too passive and being like, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, kind of an approach. And I think the opposite of that sometimes we can swing to, which is that very, bitchy, demanding, sort of finger pointing request. And that's not going to be successful either. But it's finding that beautiful place in the middle where you're neither shrinking from what you know is true, trusting your gut instinct, but also standing in that power, making a direct request and backing it up with, as you said, the specifics and really demonstrating this is what's going on. Mm-hmm. I think that's a powerful formula. Awesome. Brandy says, I think that's great. Woohoo! See? So genius. So genius. Really, you really are an inspiring model for many of the women in our community, Karissa. We have 2 minutes left, ladies. Your chance to get some more goodness and golden nuggets out of Karissa before I know she has other things, and we all have other things to do today. This is our early morning dose of inspiration. So what other questions and comments do you have? We've got a minute and a half to go, and then we're going to have to wrap up. Anything else that you wanted to share today, Karissa, as we are wrapping things up?
I just had one final thought that you mentioned about the sort of vulnerability piece. It's something that I've worked really hard on in my personal life, that I've really tried to be very vulnerable and open about my struggles, about obstacles I've overcome, as well as celebrating my successes in life. But I have felt, because I work in a male-dominated industry, and maybe some of you ladies can relate, I have felt at times like I have to work twice as hard to earn respect. And so at work, I oftentimes have a very business face on. I don't show a lot of, I guess, softness or vulnerability, in fear that it's I guess, against the norm. It's not what clients or my coworkers want. And I've noticed a shift in our work together as I kind of have softened my approach and been more vulnerable and open and helped others celebrate their successes. I have noticed that it's been very impactful on our team. So my message is be vulnerable. Be vulnerable and be open and be who you are in every aspect of your life.
Yeah, be appropriately vulnerable. Let people see the real human being. Okay, love it. Okay, last question. I think it's for Brenda. Self-awareness and self-exploration are so important. What time of day do you explore? Ooh, that's a good daily habit question.
Thank you, Mom. Usually in the morning. I find that I have the most clarity when the house is quiet before the boys are awake. When I can kind of think about my day ahead, do some exploration, do some journaling, really think about what I'm grateful for and what my sort of mantra or goal is for the week. So I would say mostly in the morning.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Ladies, if you are just jumping on, we are going to wrap things up, but the replay is going to be available in like 2 minutes. So you can continue to post your comments and questions in the replay feed. And Karissa and I will be watching for the rest of the day and contributing as we can. I know, Lindsay Ann, you're just asking a question. Can you tell us one person who has had impact on you as a leader and how they've impacted you? Last question, really quickly.
Fantastic question. So maybe surprisingly, the person that's had the biggest impact for me was somebody who was not an effective leader. It really propelled me and inspired me and made me, I guess, even more passionate and called to serve people and to be the best version of a leader that I could be. Not for myself. I don't need leadership as a title or for my ego, but because I really want to serve others and help them elevate to the next level.
Wow, okay, that's a powerful response. You gave me chills there. Whew. Thanks, Lindsay, for asking that question. Awesome. Okay, ladies, this is almost too good to close, but I know we've got other things to do, and I want to keep these short and snappy, so thank you so much, Karissa, for taking time out of your day off to be with us and to share your story with the women of style, wit, and substance in our Facebook group. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Karissa, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.